Hello, everybody. I don't know if anybody's there yet, but I'm here. I'm just going to wait a few seconds because I've never done this before. I'm just waiting to get confirmation that there is anybody watching this out in the big wide world. If you're live, if you're on here now, then let me know accordingly. Let's put it this way. My first job essentially is to work out whether you can hear me or not. We shall soon find out. For those of you that are there, my name's Chris Oakley, and we will soon be doing the preliminary round draw for the World Cup of Football shirt logos. At the moment, it's saying there's nobody in the group, so I'm taking it as read that that's the case. We shall wait and see. So excuse me if I go quiet. I'm just literally kind of looking around my screen, waiting for something specific to happen, like somebody to start watching the video, I think. So if you're watching this back afterwards, like after the event, we are currently approaching 2 minutes into the video. No one here yet. And if no one turns up, then basically what's going to happen is I'm going to do the draw anyway, because some of you may want to watch it at your own leisure. It's possible, it could happen. Now then, let's get myself sorted out here. I see there's one person watching. I wonder who that could be. Make yourself known if that's the case. Boom, 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 boom. Hello, if you're watching at the moment. This is Chris Oakley, and I'm just waiting for a few further people to arrive in the, watching the video and such like. If you want to say hello or leave a comment at all, you can use the chat window provided kindly by YouTube. So that will be there for your convenience. I'm just going to check my other sort of channels just to see if there's anybody else kind of passing by, as it were. Right. So my name's Chris Oakley, and I'm speaking to you from New Zealand, where it's been something of a cold day today because we're going into winter. So if I look a bit red in the face, it's because I've got a heater going, and this draw may go on for quite some time. So I don't want to basically die of hypothermia. Boredom is probably a more likely cause of death by the end of this, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. I'm sure it won't. But yes, I have everything around me that I need. Cup of tea, very important. So on my screen at the moment, it says one person is, I don't know what that means. It presumably means it's in the group, the number of people watching. And I've got one like, which I think happened before I even started doing the video, which is nice. It's a start, I suppose. Okay. I'm just sort of waiting to see if anyone, is there anybody out there? Please do drop me a line if you can. Of course, I realise that it's 9 o'clock in the morning UK time, and it's a Sunday morning, so there's probably going to be a lot of people sleeping in. But of course, you may not be watching this from the UK. You might be watching from some other wonderful part of the world. Again, let me know where you're watching from. 2 people, it says now, watching in the group. Yes, and apologies also if the light is very sort of iffy, a bit sort of hazy. That's just because the light in this room is not very good at all. But the good news is, from my point of view, that we will be moving house in the next month. So the next time I do one of these videos, I should be in a room that's much better lit. and so on and so forth. So if you can put up with this slightly gloomy light, then that's good. On my screen, I look a bit ruddy-faced, like I've been sort of drinking alcohol constantly for the last 10 weeks, which isn't actually that far from the truth, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, once again, as I said right at the very beginning, probably before anybody turned up, hopefully you can hear me if you're watching this now. If you can't hear me very well, let me know, because basically I'm using a sort of plug-in USB microphone, and it may not be configured to use that. It might be trying to use the internal microphone. So if you can hear me okay, great. If you can't hear me very well, please do let me know. We can fix these things. It's now saying there's 3 people in the group. I'll just wait a little bit longer. We've been going for about 5-6 minutes almost. So just see if anybody else wants to pop by while we're doing this. And then if no one else shows up, then we'll get started. And I'll just do the draw anyway. And it can be like a little sort of small personal private viewing for all of you. It's probably not the sort of phrase you want to use when you're doing a video chat with somebody. I mean, I'm not going to expose myself or anything, so it's not that kind of private personal viewing. But anyway, I'm jabbering on now, as you can tell. Anyway, I hope you're all well wherever you are in the world. Hope that you're doing okay mentally and physically in regards to all the events that are going on at the moment. If you are having a bit of a tough time, my sympathies, but hopefully the draw that you're going to be watching will provide you with some sort of positive distraction from all of that, and will hopefully put a bit of a smile on your face. It's just a bit of fun, you understand? So that's what this is going to be. The preliminary round draw for the World Cup of Football shirt logos. I'm going to be going into the details in just a moment or so, just to sort of tell you how it all came about and that sort of thing. So I'm just looking on here. Forgive me a moment while I just tinker generally with the screen here, because it's the first time I've used live chat on YouTube. So yes, participants, and it says only me, which is a bit of a worry. I wonder why that is. It might be that something's not quite right. Bom, bom, bom. Right. Let me see. They're saying there's 3 people in the top left-hand corner of my screen, and they can't all be me. My days of having a split personality are well behind me, I'm pleased to say. Just checking one or two other things just before we start. Bear with me a moment. We don't need to worry about that. That's all fine. Okay. We've got 3 people online, I think. Can somebody type something into the chat room, into the chat window, if you happen to be there? That would be great, just so I know that there is a living, breathing human being at the other end of this video chat. Pom, pom, pom. Let's see. No, I'm getting no one else showing up. I'm gonna, like I say, I keep saying it, but it's just a sort of self-reassurance. I'm assuming that there's somebody out there in the big wide world. So I'm just going to position my chat window there. And in fact, I won't do that because that blocks up most of my screen, which is not very good at all. Anyway, I tell you what, since we've been going for nearly 9 minutes, or I've been going for nearly 9 minutes, and you know, it's probably about time I made a start. That's what I'm going to do. So first of all, let me just welcome you. Welcome to this live chat window. My name, if you don't know me, my name's Chris Oakley. If you do know me, my name is Chris Oakley. As I said before, I'm speaking to you from New Zealand. However, I'm from the UK, as you can probably tell by my accent. So that explains that little mystery. But basically, the World Cup of Football shirt logos, you might be wondering what this is all about and why we're doing this in the first place. Allow me to give you a bit of detail about the background of it all, basically. It sort of started with a chap called Luis Adriano. on Twitter. You may be following him already, for all I know. And I think he suggested to someone that there should be a sort of Twitter vote to determine the best logo, as has appeared on countless number of football shirts all over the world for years and years and years. Now, that idea was taken up by another gentleman called Brian, and he runs a Twitter account called, and here I'm going to refer to my notes, shirts_original. And the name of the account is Charity Shop Finds Football Shirts. I think basically Brian is someone who goes around collecting football shirts from charity shops in the UK. So he decided he was going to take up this project, and he was going to have a go at organising this competition, which is all about football shirt logos, manufacturers and brands and all that sort of stuff. So he sort of got a shortlist together of about, I think it was between 30 and 40. And for all I know, Lewis or Brian may be watching this video now, in which case, hello to you both. Unlikely probably at this stage, but you never know. Brian had this shortlist of about 30 or 40 logos, and he was getting on quite well. But then he made what probably he will determine to be a foolish mistake by, at some point, contacting his 6,000 followers on Twitter and saying, are there any logos you think we should include? I say foolish because he was very quickly overwhelmed with responses. He got lots and lots of responses from people in places like Central America and Europe and Asia and all over saying, what about this logo? And I hope you're going to include that logo. And he got so many responses that he quickly realized that he wasn't going to be able to, he wasn't going to be able to do the project because it was going to take too long and be too big and all of that sort of thing. So essentially, he then put out a message saying, sorry, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. Would anybody else like to take over the running of the project? And like a fool, I metaphorically put my hand up and said, yes, I'll do it. Hence why I'm here now. So yes, that's what this is. That's what this is all about. That's why I'm here. So that's that. I'll tell you a bit about the structure of the competition. But I'm just keeping an eye on how many people it says are watching this. It sort of fluctuates between about 3 and 5 at the moment. It's on 4 right now. So I'm like I say, I'm hoping there's somebody there. I'll stop saying that. So anyway, about the structure of the competition. So this is the preliminary round of the competition. And in this round, we are starting off with 256 logos, which is quite a few. I think you'll agree. This isn't your average sort of FIFA World Cup draw or UEFA Champions League draw. Got a bit more than that. 256 logos, and they're going to be drawn into 64 groups of 4. Okay, so that's the structure for the preliminary round. So having drawn each of the 64 groups with 4 people, 4 logos in each, what will happen on Wednesday, in about 3 days' time, Wednesday, the 10th of June, 2020, you will finally get the chance to actually vote on your favorite logos in each group, starting off with the first 8, and then the next 8, the next day, then the following day we'll have the next 8 groups and so on. You'll have 3 days to vote for your favorite logo in each group, and you'll be able to vote for your favorite on Twitter. If you basically go to the Kitbliss NZ account, you'll see all the voting buttons cropping up there when the competition is in progress. And you'll also be able to vote on the Kitbliss website, which is kitbliss.co.nz. If you head to the features section and find the link for World Cup of Football shirt logos, there you will be able to vote as well. So after 3 days of voting, I will add up all the votes received from Twitter and the Kitbliss website, and whichever logo gets the most votes in each group goes through to the first round proper. And in the first round proper, we do another draw, and this time it will be 16 groups of 4. Same thing again, most popular logo in each group goes through to the next round. And the next round after that is the round of 16. So at that point, we go into straight knockout. And then it's just basically logo A versus logo B, 3 days of voting, winner takes all, and goes through to the next round, and so on, until we have an eventual champion, or we all die of boredom, whichever happens first. So yes, that's the structure of the competition. I think I've covered everything. I'm just going to check once again, because nobody's saying anything in the chat window, and I was hoping somebody might just say hello by now. Let me see. Maybe I've got sort of comments turned off or something like that. Bear with me a moment. I'll do one very quick check. Here we go. Participants. Nothing in participants. How do I turn on messaging, I wonder? I wish I should have. Well, I wish I'd planned this a bit better, but you wouldn't believe how long it's taken me to organize this. It's been like the last 3 weeks of my life have been dominated by sorting this all out. So anyway, that's that. Right, what else have we got? No, nothing else on there, I don't think. I'm going to assume that there's nothing coming up in the chat window because nobody wants to say anything, and that's perfectly fine and all right. One last thing, I'm just going to very quickly check. Where are we? Yeah, I think that's all fine. I don't think there's anything I've missed. Oh, there we go. Philip Arnold. Hello, Philip Arnold. Civilization has made contact. No problem, Philip. Absolutely no problem at all. If anyone watching this video now has to go off, because frankly this could go on a while, feel free to go. It's absolutely not a problem. Come and go as you please. I just appreciate the fact that any of you watching now have actually made the effort to get here and listen to me blabbering on. So thank you very much. But thank you, Philip, for confirming that I've done something right in setting all this up. Anyway, so I mentioned about the structure. So just a final sort of thing really about the logos themselves. A few things to point out. So essentially when Brian at the Shirts Original Twitter account, when he was setting this up, he had about 38 to 40 logos, and they were predominantly the big brands. So people like Puma, Adidas, Nike, Umbro, and so on. Those are mostly the ones that were on his list. But at that point, as I said before, he had to drop out of the competition, out of the project, I should say, and hand over to me. Now, for those of you that don't know me, on the KitList website, kitlist.co.nz, full details in the description below here on YouTube. For a few years now, I've done a lot of research into, well, essentially I've created a few spreadsheets that show all the professional teams in England, Scotland and Wales, and the brands, the kit suppliers that those teams have had season by season from 1970 onwards. And they're quite big spreadsheets. I've done one for England and Wales, one for Scotland. I'm sort of working on one at the moment for France, but I haven't made that sort of public yet. But so there's lots of data there. And I thought, well, I might as well try and use some of that for this competition. So in expanding Brian's list of 38 through to 256, you'll find that there are a lot of logos featured in this that are associated with British club teams. Okay. And if you're British, then that's probably great news. But I realise that if you're watching this from outside of the UK, you might think, oh, that's not very good. I won't know who any of these brands are or logos or anything. So all I'll say to that is apologies. There are quite a few brands from all over the world, some quite random and obscure ones as well, actually. But even regarding that, it doesn't matter, because essentially this will be a competition where you just pick the best looking logo. That's all it is. You don't need to really know who the brands are or the companies or it's just which logo looks best. That's all it comes down to. So hopefully that won't put you off too much. But there are a lot of UK sort of in-house brands and local brands and that sort of thing. And I'll try and give you a bit of information on those as we go along. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. The fact that certain big brands like your Adidas's and Umbros and that sort of thing have, as I'm sure you know, down the years updated their logo. So they might have started off with one and then after a few years changed it to something else. Now, in certain cases, those brands will have more than one logo in this competition. And you might think that's a bit unfair. You know, why should Adidas have 4 logos in this and someone else only have 1? Well, a couple of things about that. First of all, I think that different logos can have a completely different appearance, and therefore they have their own merits. So therefore they should be included and judged accordingly. And secondly, of course, there may be the situation where, say, all of Adidas's 4 logos are eliminated in the preliminary round. They might not even get through to the first round, for all I know, or not necessarily Adidas, but another brand. Whereas another brand that's got 1 logo in this competition could make it all the way through and win the whole thing. So it's just all according to how many votes each one gets. So so that's that. I've not got absolutely every logo and every variation and permutation of logo for every company. So if there's one missing in this competition, if you say, oh, why haven't you got this logo, or why can't you include that? I'm sorry. I tried to include as many logos as I can, but you'll appreciate that with 256 in this, that's quite a few to begin with. But it's just not possible to include every single possible logo for every team in every era, in every country. We'd have a starting list of about 10,000 if that were the case, and it's just not possible to organise a competition on that scale. It's too time-consuming and complicated. So apologies if one of your favourite logos isn't in this. I've tried to include as many as I can. And also, as you'll see when I draw the logos out, as featured on the KitBliss website, I've tried to get images for all the logos as they've appeared at some point on a football shirt. Okay, just so that they're all on a level playing field appearance-wise. If I couldn't get a decent picture of the logo on a shirt, then it probably wasn't included. And that's because it's a bit unfair for you to be voting on a logo that looks blurry and, you know, looks rubbish, because you're not seeing it as clearly as some of the other logos. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Yeah, I think that's essentially about it. One last thing to say: there are no seeds in this competition. When Brian from Charity Shop Finds Football Shirts was organising this, I know he was considering having seeded logos. I was as well, and then I thought, well, who's to say that my judgment is better than somebody else's? You know, I might like a particular Umbro logo, and I might want to seed that one, but somebody else, the next person, might come along and say, no, it's rubbish. So mine is just one opinion of many. So there are no seeded logos in this. It could easily be that we have one group that consists entirely of 4 logos from one company. And wouldn't that be fun? Well, it might be fun. Anyway, so there we go. And the last thing to bear in mind is this is just a bit of fun. Okay, there's nothing at stake here. No one's going to win anything. No one's going to get a signed shirt made by the logo company in question, I don't think. Maybe that's possible. I might have a think about that. Anyway, so it's just a bit of fun. Try not to take it too seriously, everyone. That's all it is. So that's about the last thing to bear in mind, really. And with that, I'm going to speak to you, Philip, directly, because you're my conduit to the outside world. Can you hear me okay? I hope you can. As I said earlier on, I'm using this USB mic, and I'm hoping that YouTube is using that. And in which case, great. But if you can't hear me very well, please let me know. While I wait for any responses along those lines, I'm going to start doing the draw for the preliminary round. I can't even say it, preliminary round of the World Cup of Football shirt logos. With that, I'm going to slightly rearrange my desk. I'm going to bring this thing here forward, which is just a kind of, here we are, display thing, sort of. Good. Thank you, Philip. Thank you for just confirming that you can hear me. That's great. And I'll just move my mic here. There we are. Now, what have I got? I have got here a big drum, a big plastic drum, and somewhere in there you can see all the tickets for the 256 starters in this race. And I'm going to be drawing them out, and I'll try and rest them on here. If it doesn't work, because I haven't done a dry run of this, if it doesn't work, then I'll just throw this out of the way and we'll carry on freestyle. But anyway, as I said before, 64 groups, 4 in each group. Let's start the draw, shall we? Right, here we go. And there'll be no sleight of hand there. There'll be no fixing going on. I have no dogs in this fight, to use the common parlance. Yeah, just reading your comment there, Philip. Yes, dramatic music and awkward conversations with footballers struggling to speak English to each other, like in the World Cup draws. If only I could have recruited some people to do that. That would have made it all really good and have some sort of video wall stuff going on in the background. Instead, all I've got is two pictures, which I have created by my own fair hand, as if that's going to make up for it. But anyway, here we go then. Group 1 of 64. And we start off with Diodora. That's upside down. That's a good start. Diodora, Italian company. And from a UK perspective, they've done kits for, you know, Colchester and Bury and Bradford and many others. So we'll put that there. What have we got next? Second logo in Group 1. Oh, it's a biggie. It's Admiral. There we go. Good old Admiral, founded in Leicester in 1914. England football kit manufacturer, of course, between 1974 and 84. Provided kits for so many teams, it's not even funny. Leeds, Man U, Norwich, Southampton, West Ham, Aberdeen, Tottenham, Coventry. There are many others. Here we go. Yes, upside down, Philip. Yes, nothing but the highest standards on this video. Number 3 in Group 1, we have got... Ooh. Now, this is an obscure one. I've never really seen this, but this is, it says Big T. It's actually Talbot Sports, which is a brand you will know if you're from the UK, who created Coventry City's kit between 1980 and 83. That was the logo that was on the sleeves of that kit. Interesting group so far, Admiral and Big T. Mm-hmm. And Diodora, you know, a well-known brand, of course. And the last group, sorry, the last logo in Group 1, a more obscure one, probably the outsider here. This is Albion Collection, which you won't be surprised to see, or won't be surprised to work out, I guess, that they were the brand that appeared on West Bromwich Albion's kit in the 1992-93 season. So that completes Group number 1. We have a Cov fan in our midst of it. Good stuff. This is what I like to see. Thank you for that, Philip. So there we are. That's Group 1. And that's a Diodora, Admiral, Big T, and Albion collection. I shall now remove these, put a paper clip around them, and attach them to my bit of paper here. Sorry, while I just generally faff. This will get quicker as we go along, I can assure you. Thank God for that, I hear you cry. Or will it? I don't know. I'm not doing very well with my paper clips. There we go. Right, Group 2. Let's move on. Group 2. And the first logo out. My fear is that I'm going to pick 2 logos out and I won't know it. And we'll end up with one short at the end of all this. It could happen. Group 2. We start off with Macron. Italian brand founded in 1971. National teams that they do kits for include Albania, Cyprus, Belarus, Bahamas. A well-known brand there. Second logo out in Group 2 is, oh, if I can get it the right way around, Diodora. That version of the Diodora brand, of the Diodora logo. There's 3 of them in this competition. Italian brand, as I mentioned before, and they've done kits, as I said, loads of teams really. Aston Villa, Birmingham, Watford, West Brom, and so on and so on and so on. Third logo out in Group 2. One of 5 Lecoq Sportif logos. It's one of the older ones. They've done kits for, it's a French brand, of course, as you know. They've done kits for lots of teams. Charlton, Coventry, Derby, Carlisle, many others. So we'll put them there. And the fourth one is going to be Lonsdale, an English brand founded in 1960, associated often with boxing. Of course, you'll see them at a lot of boxing matches in the sort of all the stuff around the ring and on the gloves and all sorts of things. They've done kits for teams like Millwall, Sunderland, Swindon, Birmingham, Blackburn, Brentford, it goes on and on. So that's Group 2 right there. Another interesting one. I wonder who you'd back in that fight. No pun intended. That wasn't a subliminal suggestion that you vote for Lonsdale, by the way. So there we go. Group 2 completed. I better speed this up, otherwise we'll probably be here all night. Well, I'll be here all night anyway. There we go. Right. Amuse yourselves. How can I speed this up? I'll put that there like that. Paper clip. Lovely. Number 2 goes on there. Fine. Put that over there. That's good. Right. Group 3. Sorry if this is boring. Group 3 begins with Sporter. Now, they were the brand that made kits for Blackpool in the 03-05 season, Bury in 03-04, and Cambridge in 03 from 03 to 05. Sporter. Next, in Group 3, we have Starter. And they made Oxford United's kits from 2016 to 2018. Quite like that one. If you can see these, I'll have to... There we go. How's that? Better. Good. Sporter and Starter. Give these a bit of a shake up here. Next, a familiar brand logo, Joma. One of a couple, 2 or 3 Joma logos in this competition. Spanish brand who make kits for national teams like Cuba, Honduras, Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine. And finally, in Group 3, we have... Whoop, got 2. Hang on, I'll just look the other way and throw those in. Finally, we have Barrowland. A name from the past, you might say. They made kits for Hereford between 1972 and 75, Huddersfield 79 to 82, and Wimbledon from 82 to 83 and 85 to 86. So that is Group 3. Sporter, Starter, Joma, and Barrowland. Paperclip time. And I shall grab those. Right, so that's that. Okay, Group 4. No sign yet of Adidas or Umbro. And we have, in Group 4, JD Sport, who made Bournemouth's kit between 2015 and 17. Next, with them in Group 4, no prizes for guessing who that is. That is Puma. Not much to say about Puma really, because such a well-known brand. They've made kits for so many teams. Oh, Arsenal off the top of my head, and you name it. Third out is Mitre, one of 3 logos for Mitre in this competition, often seen on footballs rather than kits. They produced the official Football League footballs from 1966 for many years, and created the Premier League ball between 1992 and 2000. We'll put them there. Familiar brand if you're British. And finally, in Group 4, an obscure one, Rams Pro Wear. Yes, I'm sure you can probably work out that is the brand that made kits for Derby County from 1994 to 1995. And they go on there. So that's Group 4, JD Sports, Puma, Mitre, and Rams Pro Wear. Splendid. We'll collect those together. Attach them to my sheet. Right. Super. I'm going to have a quick sip of tea. Bear with. And you don't get that on UEFA draws either. The presenter having a quick swig of tea. Right, Group 5 of 64. We start off with the familiar name of Reebok. Again, it would take too long to list how many teams they've made kits for. Probably easier to list those they haven't made kits for. Secondly, we have Elevate, Sheffield Wednesday's kit supplier from 2017 onwards. Third logo for Group 5. Oh, here we go. Oh, I'll do the one that I saw and put that back. There we go. That's not cheating. It's the one that I saw when I pulled it out. Here we go. It's the first of 5 Umbro logos. And they create so many kits for so many teams and have done for years. It's ridiculous. But at the moment, they do kit for many national teams like Benin, Botswana, Ethiopia, Namibia, Zimbabwe, El Salvador, Jamaica. Very nice indeed. I think that's the current, if I'm not mistaken, the current instance of the Umbro logo. And the fourth logo in Group 5 will be, oh, this could be our first sighting of a group of death, maybe. It's a Kappa logo, one of 3. Italian brand, as we know. Currently providing kit for Salford City. They made kit for Portsmouth between 2010 and 13. Man City 97 to 99. And Leeds United from 2015 onward, but not for much longer, so it would seem. So that, I think, is as close as we'll get to a group of death thus far. That's Group 5, Reebok, Elevate, Umbro, and Kappa. Interesting stuff. Well, it is if you're into that sort of thing, I suppose. Right. There we go. Put those together. Now, I'm putting these together. The reason I'm sort of keeping all these together is because, you see, as far as I know, the YouTube archives this video so that everyone can watch it back afterwards. But it'd be just my luck that it doesn't, and then I've lost all the information about who's drawn in which group. So this is like a backup I'm doing. Sorry if that makes it go on longer. But anyway, so we move on to Group 6. And we begin with Tempest. They made Peterborough's kit between 2007 and 8 and AFC Wimbledon's kit between 2011 and 2014. Second in Group 6 we have High Tech, who made kit for Southend, Stoke, Wrexham, sort of from the mid-80s up till the early 2000s, really, in Southend's case. So Tempest, High Tech. Third one out, making sure I only pick one. There we go. Oh, now this is an obscure one. Anyone know who that is? That is Born Sports. And they made Port Vale's kit between 88 and 91. There you go there. This is a bit of an obscure group. This one, there's some of the outsiders, maybe apart from High Tech, maybe. And lastly, in Group 6, oh, hang on, pulled 2 out there. Sorry, do that again. We have Match Winner, and they did kit for lots of teams. Ooh, Notts County, Reading, Rotherham, Stoke, Swansea, Wigan, you name it. Sort of late 80s through till the mid 90s, let's say. And that completes Group 6. A review there: Tempest, High Tech, Born Sports, and Match Winner. Okay. Oops. Okay. Group 6. Right. Group 7. Philip Arnold and my lone voice in the wilderness here give me all the encouragement I need and a definite skew towards Coventry City, and why not? Right. Group 7. We have got an obscure one. If you're from the UK, that's Pima. That's a Mexican brand, sportswear brand. They make kit for various clubs in Mexico, Brazil, Chile, places like that. Okay. Next in Group 7, we have I'll tell it the right way around this time. SHO. And you might not be familiar with SHO. They did the kit for Exeter City in 2008, 2009. Go there. Next in Group 7 we have BLK, Australian brand. BLK stands for Beyond Limits Known. Fact fans. There we go. And finally in Group 7, Manor Leisure. See if you can work out who that is. That's, in fact, the kit supplier for Oxford United. The clue is in the name. They did the kit between 94 and 96. There we go. That's your Group 7 sorted. Pima, SHO, BLK, and Manor Leisure. That. Right, on to Group 8. Who we got starting in Group 8? We have got Stano. And Stano were the kit suppliers for Stranraer in Scotland between 2009 and 2018. A word mark there, one of the many word mark style logos in this competition. Oh, now this is a good one. Umbro, one of my favourite versions of the Umbro logo, that one. That was worn by Liverpool in the 1974-75 season. It's what I call the big diamond with the word in the middle of the diamond. A nice one, that. Not that I wish to influence the voting, you understand. It's just one of my personal favourites. Third in Group 8, we have Surridge, English brand. Started in 1867 making cricket bats, and they provided apparently the footballs in the 1958 World Cup. Another bit of trivia for you there. They've provided kit for lots of teams: Barnet, Brentford, Bury, Mansfield, sort of 2010s onwards, you might say. Lots of teams have done kit for, so we'll put them there. And last in Group 8, we are going to have... I should have folded these up, but then that would have taken time to unfold them all, wouldn't it? There we go. An obscure one. Arrow Sports is the abbreviated version, I suppose, of that name. And they did Exeter City's kits from 1997 to 1999. So there you go there. So that's Group 8. Stano, Umbro, Surridge, and Arrow. And we need one of our wonderful paper clips. Whoops. Hope this is not too boring for you. It probably is a bit boring. You have my sympathies. So here we go. Right, Group 9 now. And we'll start off with, great retro one. This from the 80s. Chelsea collection. They made Chelsea's kit in the 1986-87 season. Heard it said that it was actually Umbro making the kit in that circumstance. It was mentioned on the most recent Kitlist podcast. If you've never heard the Kitlist podcast, it is available via the Kitlist website, kitlist.co.nz. Go to the podcast section, and we've done 25 of those. Well, just recorded the 26th one of those, and we mentioned it in the most recent one. More of which later, I'm sure. But anyway, next in Group 9, we have Asics, Japanese brand, made kit for many teams. Stoke, Sunderland, Aston Villa, Blackburn, people like that. That's their sort of one of their oldest logos, that one, and one of several in this competition. Then we have the humorously named Beaver, who made kit for lots of teams as well. Walsall, Barnsley, Bradford, Southend, people like that. And lots more besides. And finally, in Group 8, if I can find one, there's still plenty in here. That one, bet you can't guess who that is. Some of you might know. That's the logo of Bristol Sport, who provide kit for Bristol City and have done since 2014. So there you go. Group 9, Chelsea Collection, Asics, Beaver and Bristol Sport. That's that. Right, scribble a number 9 on there and I think we're good to go. Right. Get my next sheet there. I'm trying to get organised. Wonderful. Right. Group 10 of 64 begins with a big international name. This Maber, who, of course, I'm sure many of you will associate with Barcelona. Spanish brand. They've also made kit for many, many other teams. Porto, Atletico Madrid, Celta Vigo, Espanyol, and so on and so forth. We have Maber in Group 10. Next, Hobot. Just reading your message there, Philip. I was just a bit distracted, but thank you for letting me know. There we are. Hobot, who made kit for all too many clubs: Brentford, Bristol Rovers, Chester, Doncaster, Port Vale, Rotherham, Scunthorpe, people like that. Whoops, dropped that one. Where did that go? Down there. We'll put Hobot there. Sorry that your wife is not finding this desperately interesting, Philip, but I kind of understand. You know, we're talking about football logos here, so I mean, you know, what do you want to know? Next, in Group 10, we have Punch. And Punch, as you may know, did the kit for Ipswich for 10 seasons, 97 to 2007. There we are. And finally, in Group 10, we have Erea, Italian brand, established in 1988. Many clubs have created kit for: Blackpool, Carlisle, Grimsby, Lincoln, Norwich, QPR. The list goes on. So there we are, an interesting Group 10. Something of an international flavour to that one, it's fair to say. That's Maber, Hobot, Punch and Erea. Right. That and that. On to Group 11 of 64. If you're just joining us, you've been warned. Right. Group 11 starts off with Fox Leisure, Leicester City's kit providers from 1992 to 2000. In they go. And then we have, trying to make sure these are all properly shuffled, Respect, Chesterfield's suppliers from 2010 to 12. Next, oh yes, Diodora, Italian brand, as I'm sure you know, provided kit for Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, Preston, many teams all over the world, including the Italian national team, I think. And lastly, a Japanese brand, Asics, I'm sure you're familiar with. There we are. And yep, their motto is healthy soul in a healthy body. Make of that what you will. So that's Group 11. We have Fox Leisure, Respect, Diodora and Asics. Definitely only one group of death so far. Which one was that? 5? Can't remember now. Is that far back? Yes, Group 5 it was. Group 12 begins with OS, which is Olympic Sport, associated with teams like Hull City and Leyton Orient and Southend, amongst others. Dundee United, just think of off the top of my head. Here we have Baleston, I don't know if you can work that out from the scribbly writing. That's a French brand, I think I'm right in saying. Made kit for teams like Ajaccio, Nancy, and Troyes. One of 2 Baleston logos in the competition. Next, we'll do the proper old shuffle up here. Hang on. Feels like they're all kind of statically stuck together. Now, this is an obscure one. I'll get that the right way around. That's the logo of Sport Leisure, who made Chesterfield's kit in the 2002-2003 season. Strange one there. I'll just hold that up. Sort of a T and an S and an L with a rope circle around it, you might call that. And last but not least, in Group 12, we have FBT, a brand from Thailand. And this is one of 2 FBT logos. And that goes there. To complete Group 12, we have Olympic Sport, Baleston, Sport Leisure, and FBT. Right, Group 13, carry on apace. And we have Kelme, Spanish brand, associated with Real Madrid in the mid-1990s. That's one of 3 Kelme logos, I think we've got. There's a strange one. Footy, associated with Preston between 1994 and 1996. Next, in Group 13, we have Red Fox. Nothing to do with Leicester. This is Carlisle United, 1995 to 2000. They were the kit suppliers for. And last in Group 13, we have, if I can hold it the right way around, Cabrini, who have provided kit for lots of teams, Birmingham, Blackpool, Bournemouth, Crewe, etc. And that's Group 13. Kelme, Footy, Red Fox, and Cabrini. Yep. Keep losing my pen. Right. Group 14. It's Reebok, one of the 4 Reebok logos. Various teams they did kit for, Aston Villa, Bolton, and so on in England. Then we have Fila, a recognisable brand, Italian brand, of course. They've done kit for teams like West Ham, my team, Blackpool, Luton, Notts County, Oldham, Rochdale, and so it goes on. Then we have Streetwise. They did the kit for Doncaster in the 2006-07 season. And finally, Super League. And Super League have made kit for lots of teams as well. Blackpool, Burnley, Huddersfield, Hull, various teams like that between the late 90s and early 2000s. So we'll pop them on there. That is Group 14. Reebok, Fila, Streetwise, and Super League. I wonder if, as you're watching this, you're picking out the teams you're going to be voting for, or the logos, of course. Okay, Group 15. Here we go. Right. Warrior, if I can hold that correctly, there we are. Warrior, American brand who created kit for Liverpool between 2012 and 15, and Stoke for the 2014-15 season. And next we have got, I can find one. Oh, very well known one there, Topper, who I've discovered are an Argentinian company, actually. I always thought they were Brazilian because they appeared on the Brazil shirts in the '86 World Cup, but I think they're Argentinian, unless someone wants to correct me on that. And then we have Russell Athletic, I should say, another American brand. Not many appearances in UK football, but they've done kit for Mansfield, Hamilton Academicals, Meadowbank Thistle, I think, in Scotland. There you go there. And lastly, in Group 15, we have got BM, and they've made kit for Darlington and Halifax towards the end of the last millennium. So that is Group 15. Quite a good one, that. Warrior, Topper, Russell Athletic, and BM. Oops. That was always going to happen. There we go. Put that back. Right. On to Group 16. And we'll start with I'll hold that the right way around. Kappa. Italian brand, as we said, they've done national team kits for various countries, Gabon, Tunisia, Fiji. Originally founded as a sock company in 1978. Fact fans. And next we have in Group 16, the other instance of Super League, who we've just seen actually. Yep, lots of teams have done kit for: Rochdale, Torquay, Wrexham, Brentford. There you go there. And then we have, who knows who that is? That's, do you know what? I've forgotten the name of the company, but they're from Thailand. Who's that? Grand Sport, that's who it is. I forgot there. They make kits for the Sri Lanka and Vietnam national teams and various Asian clubs. There we are. And finally, in Group 16, we've got Salming, who made the kit for Northampton Town in 2005-06. So an eclectic bunch there. Kappa, Super League, Grand Sport, and Salming. That's Group 16. And as they all go falling off. Sorry about that. Right. Group 17 then, on we go. This is definitely going to take me all night to do, I think. Right, here we go. We have another Lecoq Sportif logo. They're currently doing kit for teams like Saint-Etienne, Fiorentina, FC Seoul in South Korea, and Lausanne in Switzerland. One of 5 Lecoq Sportif logos in this competition. Next up, here's an obscure one. Sport Junkie, and they're currently making the kit for Yokohama in the J League in Japan. So they go there. There we are. With a French bulldog on their logo. Something you don't see every day. Next we have Lotto. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Lotto. Established in 1939 by the Cabalotto family. That's where their name comes from. So many teams that they've done kit for as well. And lastly, in Group 17, we have Tag, or Tag Sports. They did the kit for Burton Albion between 2009 2020 and Yeovil Town in the 18-19 season. And that completes Group 17. Lecoq Sportif, Soccer Junkie, Lotto, and Tag Sports, or Tag. Oops. Okay, Group 18 starts off with Ribeiro. Lots of teams have done kit for: Blackburn, Coventry, dare I say, Brighton, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Norwich, and so on. Then we have Nutmeg, associated with Crystal Palace and Wolverhampton Wanderers between 1994 and 96. Then we have Power. Now, this is slightly obscure. You might have seen this one before. They did the kit for the Chile national team in 1984, and I think also have done kit for lots of teams in that part of the world as well. And finally, we've got Quasar, who did the kit for Charlton Athletic between 1994 and 1998. And they go there. So that's Group 18, Ribeiro, Nutmeg, Power, and Quasar. What I need is an assistant that can do all this paperclip nonsense and scribble down which groups are which. The budget doesn't run to that, you'll not be surprised to hear. However, if you want to get us nearer to the budget that we need, you can actually support my project Kitbliss on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Kitbliss, again, details in the description below this chat window in YouTube, you will see, or you'll be able to support Kitbliss for just $1 a month. You can have instant access to all the podcasts that we do. You'll get early access to features. You can get kits illustrated and all sorts of lovely stuff that's football kit orientated. So perhaps you'll consider that if you happen to like what we're doing here. We're not right here, but on the Kitbliss website at least. So what are we up to? 19? 19, right. Ready. Group 19. And we start with, gotta make sure I've got one ticket here, not two. There we go. Patrick, French brand founded in 1892. They've done kit for Hull City, Reading, Rotherham, Shrewsbury, all sorts of teams. Sheffield United. And we've also got Group 19. Now that is Uwin, who made the kit for Nottingham Forest for at least part of the 1976-77 season, just before they started winning stuff. You'll not be surprised to hear. Next in Group 19, we have that one. Any ideas what that is? Sorry, the wrong way around. It's obvious, really. That is Elite Pro Sports, and they did the kit for Doncaster Rovers this season, actually. 2019-20. And finally in Group 19, there's an obscure one possibly, Do You Football, and they've created more than the odd kit for St. Pauli in the Bundesliga and German football generally. So we have Patrick, You Win, Elite Pro Sports, and Do You Football. Right, Group 21. Group 21, and we have another instance of Umbro. If you're a Blackburn, Bournemouth, Brentford, Burnley, Derby fan, and any number of other teams, you'll know all about Umbro. If you don't know who Umbro are and you're watching this video, then you're on the wrong video, really. There we have Mafro Sports. Now, they are a company based in sort of Singapore and Australia, and are currently creating kit for lots of African national teams, actually. Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, like that. They're very nice kits, actually, must say. Next up, we have in Group 20, or 21, I should say, Rapido, who I think that's the logo specifically from South Korea's 1990 World Cup kit. And finally in Group 21, I think that's the right way around. Yes, it is. That's the logo of Ego Sport, who are a Thai company, and they do the kit at the moment for the Bhutan national team. I told you there was a few random and obscure ones in this. So there we are, Umbro, Mafro, Rapido, and Ego Sport, Group 21. Right, Group 22. Now, here's one from the past. Lightsome, based in Keighley in Yorkshire. Done kit for so many teams. I most readily associate them with Bradford City, but they've done kit for Grimsby and Barnsley and Swindon and any number of others. Familiar crown logo there. Then we have Penalty, altogether now, Pelunti. Yes, we can all do Chris Waddle impersonations around here. They did the kit for Peru in the 1982 World Cup, albeit not with that logo. And also the Club Bahia in Brazil, 2016. Familiar name in South American kit circles, let's say. Next, here's the other instance of Punch, who we mentioned earlier on, 1997 to 2007, Ipswich Town's maker, kit maker. And lastly, in Group 22, we have got Mizuno, Japanese athletics, rugby, golf, sportswear manufacturer. Created kit for many teams, Port Vale, Reading, Swindon, Tranmere, Watford, and so on. So that is Group 22, Lightsome, Penalty, Punch, and Mizuno. Group 23. Now then, that brand I'm led to believe is called Sport Lion. It's nothing to do with Lyon, the French club. They create kit for the teams Arsenal and Defensa y Justicia in Argentina, or at least they did in the 2018-19 season. Next, in Group 23, we have got another Lecoq Sportif logo. That's the current one. Formerly made kit for teams like Algeria, Cameroon, Senegal, Argentina, Uruguay, Spain. Very well-known brand. And then Pallada. You'll know about them if you're a fan of Hull City or Mansfield, Reading, West Brom, Barnsley, Blackpool. Sort of mid-90s brand. In the UK football sort of sense, anyway. And finally, Imp Sport, who made Lincoln City's kit between 2001 and 2004. So we have Sport Lyon, I should say, Lecoq Sportif, Pallada, and Imp Sport, Group 23. And so to Group 24, sure as eggs is eggs. Can't seem to find any of these bits of paper. There's millions of them in here. Right, there's a familiar one as well. Arima, German brand. Created kit for the West German national side and various German club teams. And then we have another Kelme logo, Spanish sportswear brand. Next in Group 24, we have Dwarig, French, originally a French footwear brand, actually. Created kit for lots of teams in France, Lorient, Ajaccio, Lyon, and so on. And lastly, in Group 24, we've got O'Neill's. This is one of 3 O'Neill's logos, sort of a word mark in this case, Irish brand. There they are. That is Group 24. Arima, Kelme, Duarig, and O'Neill's. Group 25. We start off with MyFit or MeFit, Wigan 2010-2014. MBO, Walsall 1992-94. And there's this one, which is probably not too familiar to you, I'm going to guess, which is John Harrison Sport, who created the kit for Preston North End, sort of mid-80s. Rather obscure one, that. And finally, Roscoe, who were the kit manufacturers for Southend in the 1999-2000 season. That is Group 25. We have MyFit, MBO, John Harrison Sport, and Roscoe. Can't even organise my papers here. Group 26. Bluebird. No surprises to learn that's Cardiff City, 1992-94. Loggy Tog. They did the kit for Notts County, 2000-2002. Cobra Sports, Brentford's kit, 96-98. And finally, in Group 26, we have got, it's another Umbro. So many teams have done kit for, as you know. Everton, Huddersfield, Hull, West Ham, Werder Bremen, PSV, Heart of Midlothian. There it is. That's Group 26. And that's Bluebird, Logitog, Cobra Sports, and Umbro. Sorry about this for the pauses. Knew this was going to be a long draw, but not quite as long and drawn out as it's turning out to be. Anyway, Group 27. Oh, an old name from the past. Still going to this day in some form. Buckter, English club, English brand, I should say. Founded by E.R. Buck and Sons in 1879. Nottingham Forest, here's a bit of trivia. Nottingham Forest were pictured wearing Buckter kit in 1884. How about that? But it didn't have a Buckter logo on it, but it was Buckter kit nonetheless. Next we have in Group 27, View From, who made QPR's kit in, between 95 and 97. Whenever I used to watch things like Grandstand, when I was in my early 20s, back in the early 90s, a lot of the reporters on that programme all seemed to be wearing View From tracksuits and wind jackets and things. I presumed it was a BBC brand of some sort, but I don't think it is. We have ABA Sport, who made the Mexico national team kit in the 1998 World Cup. And finally, we have got I've got one here. Yes, I have. Scoreline. Oops, it says dropping the Scoreline logo. There we are. Many teams they've done kit for: Norwich, Portsmouth, West Brom, West Ham, Bournemouth, Fulham. The list goes on. And that is Group 27. Bukta, View from, ABBA Sport, ABBA Sport, and Scoreline. Quite a nice group that, I feel. Will I have enough paper clips to see me through? This is going to be the big question that everyone will be asking by the end of this. Yeah. And that's 27. These pauses are purely just so you can catch your breath amid the exciting nature of this whole thing. On to group number 28. And we start off with Give Over, or Give Over, to use the English expression, Italian company. And hello, Samuel, watching at the moment. This Give Over, Italian brand. They do kit for the Iraq, Malta, Venezuela national teams and many others. And next in group 28, we have got A-Line. They made kit for Macclesfield and MK Dons and various other teams, sort of mid-2000s. Oops. Next up we have in group 28. Get that the right way round. That's, in fact, this I had it the right way around the first time. That's Swift. They made kit for Northampton and Walsall in the mid-90s. And lastly, in group 28 of 64, that's Charlie. As you may well know, they're a Mexican brand. They do kits for Pachuca, Necaxa, Veracruz, and various other teams in the Liga MX. So there we go. There we are, rather. That's group 28, Give Over, A-Line, Swift, and Charlie. Gather those up. Welcome if you just joined us. This is a series of pieces of paper being drawn, punctuated by me attaching them to bits of paper with a paperclip. For reasons that will become clear if you rewind this video. Right, Group 29, for the World Cup of Football shirt logos, we start off with What am I talking about? Paulas Bernara, I should say. Maker of many kits for many Scottish teams: Cowdenbeath, East Fife, Forfar, Breaking. Also Yeovil Town, I think, are the only English team they've done kit for. Next, in Group 29, we have got Kukri, I think that's how you pronounce them. Got their headquarters in Preston. They did the kit for Wycombe Wanderers, 2012 to 16. This is all going to fall apart. You watch. There we are. It's a constant balancing act getting this all to work. Next, in Group 29, we have got Lacatoni, Portuguese brand, did kit for SC Braga. I don't think so, Philip. I don't think it's going to be trending as we speak on Twitter, but, you know, we can only hope. Frankly, I'm detached from the real world at this precise moment in time. I'm so focused on what we're doing. And finally, we have a brand that's simply called M, and they made the kit for Stockport County in the 1995-96 season. There you go, there's an obscure one. So Group 29 consists of Paulas Bernara, Kukri, Lacatoni, and M. There we are. I need a new sheet of paper, that's what I need. There we are. Amuse yourselves. Right, that was 29. Group 30 of 64. Has Nike been drawn? I don't think they have. But they've got two logos in this, so not yet is all I can say. Thank you, Philip, for your kind words. And we start Group 30 with Mitre, English brand. Lots of national team kits they've done. Cameroon, New Zealand, in my part of the world, and El Salvador back in the 90s in a lot of those cases. Group 30 continues with, ironically enough, Branded. They are the kit manufacturers for Chesterfield, or were Chesterfields in 2004-05. I'll let you into a secret, Philip. These aren't memorized. See if you can work out how I know all the facts and figures. But anyway, we continue Group 30 with Rapido. We saw them earlier on. We saw the 1990 World Cup kit logo, you might say. This is the logo from the 1986 World Cup, I think I'm right in saying. South Korea. And finishing Group 30, we have got Kit At, who you might remember seeing on kit for Reading, Watford, Coventry, sort of early 2000s. And they complete Group 30. We've got Mitre, Branded, Rapido, and Kit At, which I always thought was a rather clumsy sort of name, really, but there we are. Can't win them all. Who am I to judge? Right, I'll just attach those to my bit of paper so I don't lose them. As I mentioned before, the actual voting will be going on, it will be starting on Wednesday, because I need some time to set up all the voting buttons on Twitter and stuff like that. So this is only the draw. You'll be able to start voting from Wednesday, the 10th of June, 2020. So Group 31 of 64, we start off with Born Red. That's the company that supplied kit for Bournemouth between 2003 2008. Then we have the other Arima logo in this competition, German brand, as we've said. Still going strong in Germany. Next in Group 31, we have got Luke 1977. They made the Aston Villa kit, as I'm sure you know, from the 2018-19 season. British menswear company, and some fine menswear they make too. And finally, in Group 31, we have a name from the past, Gola, English brand. They sponsored the sort of top tier of amateur football, the Alliance Premier League, as it was, back in the 80s. First sponsor of the top tier of amateur football. They've done kit for teams like Barnsley and Blackpool, Huddersfield Town, Portsmouth, Stockport, the list goes on. I had a pair of Gola shoes when I was very young. I could never quite work out whether I liked them or not, because they were sort of cheap, but kind of stylish in a funny sort of way. I digress. Anyway, that's Group 31. Born Red, Arima, Luke 1977, and Gola. Funny the things you remember. Cheap trainers that you used to have. Right, Group 32. A bit of a shake-up here, the old drum. Right, Group 32 of 64. So I guess we're halfway. Yes, I know. Doesn't time fly when you're watching a stupid man drawing bits of paper out? Next, we've got Marathon, an Ecuadorian company. Founded in 1981. They've created kit for Bolivia, Peru, and of course Ecuador, as well as several South American countries. Yes, I see some. Yes, I think Adidas have got to be among the early favourites for this competition. Time will tell. We haven't had an Adidas logo yet. I can't believe that. I'm going to just shake up. I can't believe we're halfway through and no Adidas logos. I bet they all come out in one group. Here we go. Right, who's this? DMF Sportswear. They made kit for Barnet, Fulham, Luton, sort of early to mid-90s. And next in Group 32, we have got Avec, formed in 1993 in Sunderland, and Sunderland were the first team to wear Avec, I think I'm right in saying. Barnsley, Bradford, Crystal Palace, Grimsby, Hull, Sheffield United, they've done kit for so many teams. And lastly, we have Kit by North End. See if you can guess which team they make kit for. That's right, Preston North End, 1996 to 2000. And that's Group 32. So we have Marathon, DMF Sportswear, Avec, and Kit. All these logos are on the Kitlist website, by the way. Are all the address is in the description. if you're watching this on YouTube below. Otherwise, again, just to remind you, if you go to the Kitlist website, kitlist.co.nz, go to the features page, and there you'll find a link to the World Cup of Football shirt logos. And you'll find links there where you can have a look at all the logos at your leisure. Worth doing if you're not familiar with some of them, if only to appreciate their aesthetic glory, if that's the word I'm looking for. Group 33, on we go. Group 33, we have Pony. Lots of teams have done kit for, including my own, West Ham, plus Coventry, of course. Southampton, Tottenham, Birmingham, and so on. Don't see quite so much of Pony nowadays in the English or British football scene. An obscure one. This is Sekka. They made kit for lots of Scottish clubs in the early 2000s. Albion Rovers, Partick Thistle, and so on. Still no sign of Adidas. What's going on? Conspiracy. Here's a modern name, Luanvi. And they do kit for Valencia, Real Zaragoza, I should say. Certainly in the mid-90s. I think they're still going. Still see them around here and there. Yes. Pony with the distinct styling, as I see you referring to there, Philip. And finally, in Group 33, we have DGI, which is a team that, the brand that made the kit for Swindon Town in 2002-03. So that's Group 33, Pony, Sekka, Luanvi, and DGI. Okay, Group 34 of 64. We are yet to see any evidence that Adidas are in this draw. We have Olympic, and that's the logo you'd have seen on the Portugal national team kit during Euro 96. I understand all you UK types have been watching reruns of Euro 96. I think the BBC have been doing, which I'm very jealous of. And we have the second Lacatoni logo, Portuguese, again, second Portuguese link in this group. We have Enair, Italian brand, founded by Nicola Rochulia, I think that's how you pronounce it. So his initials NR, that's why it's known as Enair. And they've made kit for lots of Italian clubs, as I'm sure you know, and also national teams, Ivory Coast, Paraguay, Uruguay, and so on. A very familiar name. And finally, Group 34, we've got Zoo, last in alphabetical order out of all of these, and they made kit for Berwick Rangers in Scotland between 2011 and 2017. So we have Olympic, Lacatoni, Enair, and Zoo. Where's my paperclip? There we go. Right. Group 35. I'm just having a look in there just to see, is there any evidence of you-know-who? Right. Okay. Group 35. We have Mex Sport, and they were the brand that made the Internazionale kit between 83 and 86. Nice butterfly motif. And then we've got, who we've got next? Tag. Again, we've already had one Tag logo. They made kit for Yeovil Town and Burton Albion in the late, sort of, what do you call that decade? The last decade, the 10s, maybe. Here's an obscure one. Posh Leisure, who made the kit for Peterborough United. Sorry, I'll hold that up there. Peterborough United, 1992 to 1994. Top hat logo. And last in Group 35, we've got... Oh, look, it's another Pony, this time with a tick. And I mentioned them before, done lots of kits for Tottenham, Southampton, West Ham, Coventry, you name it. That is Group 35. Mech Sport, Tag, Posh, Leisure and Pony. Group 36 of 64. Starts off with Yule Sport, German company that done kits for the Iran national team, currently Cologne team, Kaiserslautern, lots of British clubs. Get that right, there we go. Wehrma, they made kit for Clyde in Scotland, 2001 to 2003. And then we have Topper, who we've already seen in this competition, but different logo. They made kit for Boca Juniors 1996, Corinthians 1999 to 2000. And finally, in Group 36, we've got someone from my part of the world at the moment, Paladin, and they are an Australian sort of New Zealand company who are currently making the Wellington Phoenix kit in the A-League. So that's Group 36. Yule Sport, Wehrma, Topper, and Paladin. No. Oh, paper clip. Problems. Right, sorry about that. Okay, Group 37. Right. We have got Yonex, Japan-based company, famous for racket sports, badminton, squash, and so on and so forth. But they do the kit for Kashima Reysol and lots of other Japanese clubs. And then we have Reina, who were the Paraguay national team kit makers in the '86 World Cup. And then we have another logo from my part of the world, Canterbury. They're currently based in England, but they're a New Zealand company. They've done kit for, as well as the All Blacks and the England rugby team, they've also done kit for Portsmouth and Preston. Very good sportswear, if I do say so myself. And finally, we have Melita, who have done kit for Cambridge United and Wimbledon in the sort of early mid-'80s. That is Group 37, Yonex, Reina, Canterbury and Melita. Whoops, knocking everything flying. It's all very small budget around here, I tell you. Another piece of paper is what's required. And a slip of the old juice. Right. We are on to Group 38 of 64. I still haven't seen any sight of Adidas or Nike. I can't believe this. I'm not fixing this. I'm just trying to give them a good shake. Do you understand? Right. Group 38 starts off with Pendle. And Pendle did Scarborough's kit 1992 to 6. We've got GFC Leisure, Gillingham's kit supplier, from 2014 onwards, actually, to the present day. We have Strike Force, beg your pardon, Strike Force. Done the kit for Bristol Rovers, Colchester, Millwall, Swindon. They go there. And there's one for Coventry fans everywhere, Triple S Sports. Yes, Coventry City's brand, let's say from 86 to 87, which completes Group 38. Pendle, GFC Leisure, Strike Force, and Triple S Sports. Right, Group 39. And we have Reebok, one of the 4 or 5 Reebok logos I think we've got in this competition. Oh, sorry, I missed the question. Are we voting on favourite brand as a whole or the look of the logo? It's the look of the logo, I beg your pardon. Just the look of the logo, nothing, you know how it is. Esquadral, there's an obscure one. They're from, they did the kit for Bahia in Brazil, current season. Oops, put that there. Yes, you're purely judging whether you like the look of the logo, not whether you like the sort of stuff that's made by the company. So just so we're clear on that. And then we have Japanese brand Mizuno, who've done kit for Wickham and Watford. One of 2 logos in this competition. Determined to find up an Adidas or Nike logo, otherwise it's just going to look like they're not here. Jacko, they've made kit for Leicester, Portsmouth, and Barnet. That is Group 39. Right. What do we have? Reebok, Esquadral, Mizuno, and Jacko. Of course, probably people will vote for the company that made their team's kit this season or whatever, so I can't stop why people are voting for certain brands, but there we are. Group 40. And we have in Group 40, Bergoni. They made kit for Exeter City there and Swansea in the past. We have Forward, who have done the Bahamas national team, the Dominica national team, Daegu FC in Korea. It's very obscure. And there's 2 of those Forward logos in this competition. We have Skill, who did Middlesbrough's kit from 87-92, and famously the kit that the current season's kit is based on, if that makes sense. And finally, we have Burda Sport, who are a sort of Swiss Qatar company. Tunisian national team, Leicester from 2010 to 2012, same for Watford and Wolves, roughly speaking. So that completes Group 40. Bergoni, Forward, Skill, and Burda Sport. There we are. Next, Group 41. There's a bloody good shake if it kills me. Right, here we go. Group 41. That there is Warwick's, a tyre company. They do the tyre national team, I think, at the moment, the kit at least. There's going to be a group that contains only Adidas logos, I can tell. It's just going to happen. Got to be. We have Spal, They did kit for lots of teams: Burnley, Millwall, Southend, Swindon, Wimbledon, Exeter. Grand Sport, we've already seen one of their two logos. They're a Thai company. They do the kit for Sri Lanka and Vietnam and various Asian clubs. And finally, in Group 41, JW, Jan Webster is the name of the company. They did kit for Walsall between 84 and 86. Oh, just knocked that over. But anyway, you get the idea. That's Warwick, Spal, Grand Sport, and Jan Webster. And that's Group 41, right. Group 42. There's no corruption going on here. As I said right at the beginning, I have no dog in this fight. There's nothing I'm trying to fix about this at all. You have to take my word for that. Right, let's see. Group 42 of 64. We have another Lecoq Sportif logo. They were seen in the 1972-73 European Cup final, worn by Ajax back then. Next in Group 42. Whoops, sorry, I pulled two out there. Beg your pardon. That was accidental. Right. Upside down, I do apologise. That is Mills Sports, who make Indonesia's kit. Or will do for the next season, actually, 2021, and various Indonesian clubs. Some of these brands are actually suggested by followers of Brian, who I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Brian, who was originally going to do this project but had to bail out because it was getting too big. So if you're wondering where some of these logos have come from, why they've been suggested, follow Brian. What was the name of that account again? I think it was something like Charity Finds, I think it was called. Anyway, next we have Clubhouse, who made QPR's kit between 92 and 95. And yes, lots of stunning Everton kits, you're quite right there. And finally, Carrara, who are a Mexican brand and make kit for a few Mexican clubs over there. And that's Group 42, Lecoq Sportif. Who was I forgot what the second one was actually. Mills Sports, Clubhouse, and Carrara. Right. Group 43. Right. Group 43, we start off with Soak, Peterborough United's supplier from 1999 to 2001. Then we have another Reebok, the RBK mark there. Crew, Liverpool, Man City, West Ham, they've done kits for. Not necessarily with that logo, but I think they've made kit for those teams. Next, we have EV2, and they make the kit for Elgin City in Scotland, 2018-20. Carrera did Berry, did they? Oh, okay. You may well be right. Then we have CBT, Portuguese brand, who do kit for a club called Moreirense. An obscure one, but one that somebody suggested somewhere along the way. So Group 43 contains Soak, RBK, Reebok, EV2, and CBT. Lots of acronyms in that group. The group of acronyms, I think we'll call it. And we'll attach those to my paper so I don't lose them. Group 44. Nope, one's come out. We'll have that one, shall we? Oh, it's gone under my chair. We'll start off with that one because it just flew out. Here we go. Brooks, who made kit for QPR 91-92 and Reading 1992-3. It's one one way to get these bits of paper out. Just let them fly out of their own accord. Right. And there's the other Forward logo that I mentioned before. Yeah. Mentioned them already. And then we have Patrick, French brand, as we mentioned before. We've done kits, probably most famously for Southampton, Swansea, Wigan, West Brom, you name it. And lastly, in group 44, we have got Van der Nel. Yep, they've done kit for various clubs, particularly in the 90s. So there we go. That's group 44, Brooks, Forward, Patrick, and Van der Nel. Thank you all of you for sticking around. I'm sure this is probably a little bit tedious, but I can't make it any more exciting than that. If you want excitement, you know where to find it on the internet, I'm sure. Right, group 45 of 64. And we start off with Legia, who made the North Korea kit in the 2010 World Cup. Also currently do kit for Gibraltar and Montenegro, clubs all over Europe, really. Hello, Phil. Yeah, you've already actually mentioned that right at the beginning, Phil, that there is the distinct possibility there'll be one short. Luckily, I have a contingency because I've got a few extra sort of reserves that I can use for an emergency draw if there's one short, because after 256, I wouldn't want to find out that actually I've only drawn 255 and there's none left. There we are. Sondico, next in group 45. And they've done kit for all sorts of teams. Dagenham and Redbridge, Portsmouth, Sheffield, Wednesday, Oldham. They were founded by Mr. Sondi in India, fact fans. But they relocated to Oldham, where I'm sure the weather was much better. Right. Next in group 45, we have got, right way around, Crest. We did the kit for Rotherham from 2006 to 2008. Still no sign of Adidas, still no sign of Nike. I don't know what on earth is going on after all this time. And this must be the last of the Lecoq Sportif logos. We've got 5 in this competition. Lecoq Sportif, I'm sure you know all about by now. So that's group 45. We've got Legia, Sondico, Crest, and Lecoq Sportif. There we go. Oh, I nearly dropped the paperclip there. That was exciting. Not. Right. How are we doing? This is group 46 we're doing now of 64. I suppose you must be about 2/3 of the way through. And to start group 46, we've got Henson. I'm sure you will remember them. They did kit for Aston Villa, most memorably from 85 to 87. Also kit for Bournemouth, Bristol Rovers, Peterborough, and Torquay. Next, oh no, this is a controversial one. There we go. Air Jordan, who appeared on the sort of PSG kits worn in Europe, third kits really, since 2018. Not to everybody's taste, it has to be said, but there it is. They are a sports football shirt logo of sorts. Next in group 46, we have got another Uhl Sport logo. They make kit for various teams all over the world. And we have FBT. We've already had one FBT logo. And as we said before, they're based in Thailand, or they're a Thai company, and they do kit for lots of teams, Newport County, as well as Thailand themselves, and so on. So that is group 46. We've got Henson, Air Jordan, Ullsport, and FBT. Gather those together as well. If you missed the early part of the draw, I think Group 5 was looking like the group of death. I can't remember who was in it. I think it was Kappa, and there was a few big names in that one. I'm not going to go through them all at the end, by the way. You're just going to have to wait until Wednesday when the voting starts, and then you'll be able to look and see all the fixtures on the kit list website. For that is where there will be eventually. Where are we? 46. Yes. In fact, all the logos are on the kit list website already. If you go to the features page, World Cup of Football shirt logos, they're all there already, but not obviously drawn out into their respective groups. Group 47 now. We start off with Core, who made kit for Wimbledon, Brentford, Ipswich, sort of mid to late 90s. And then we have, look what it is. It's an Adidas logo. This is one of their, how many we've got? 4, I think, Adidas logos in this competition. And this is the sort of word mark version of their logo. They've done kit for so many teams. Currently Leicester, Man United and Wolves, Birmingham, Ipswich, Sheffield United. You know, I'm sure. Don't need me to tell you. Not beginning to think that Adidas might not come out at all. Next, in Group 47, we have ISC, who made MK Dons kit 2010 to 12. And lastly, in Group 47, we've got, that's, I think, about the earliest version of the SPAL logo, actually. It's like a sort of interconnected S's, SPAL Sports. And that completes Group 47 Core, Adidas, ISC, and SPAL Sports. Right, where are we? Not running out of paper clips, that's a good sign. Okay. More paper required, here we are. Right. 48, I think, is what's next. That comes after 47. And we start off with Dry World, Canadian company who did kit, of course, for Watford and QPR 2016-17. A company started by 2 professional rugby players, of all things. Yet more trivia. Next, we have Puma. I think that might be the first Puma logo we've had, actually. There we are. We all know about Puma, I'm sure. German company. Lots of teams, national teams and clubs and so on. Next, we have Match Winner. I think we've already had one Match Winner logo. This is the second of the 2. They've done kit for Birmingham, Bolton, Chesterfield, Hull, Lincoln, and many others besides. There we are. I'm not rich. My name's Chris Oakley. We're not joined at the hip, unlike some people. This is just me, Chris Oakley. Rich, I've left behind. He's now dead to me, Rich Johnson. So now you know. And the last brand in this group is Masita, who make kit for the Excelsior Rotterdam team in the Netherlands. There's another obscure one for you, but was asked for specifically. So group 40, where are we? 48, Dry World, Puma, Match Winner, and Masita. Rich Johnson isn't really dead to me. It's just, Kiplist is my project, but Rich appears on the Kiplist podcast, which I urge all of you to listen to, by the way. There we are. Right. I don't think we've had any Umbro logos, have we? We've not had any Umbro logos. Good grief. The amount of times I've shaken all those up, I can't believe it. Anyway. 48. Oh. Okay. Group 49 starts thus with Koala, who made Barnsley's kit in the 2004-05 season. And Who else in group were we on? 49. Lockie, who made kit for Hartlepool and Swindon in the mid-90s. And then we have Europa, and there's one for Hull City fans. They were the Hull City manufacturers 1975 to 1979. There we are. And finally, in group 49, we have got another Adidas logo. They are in there. There we are. That's the Adidas equipment logo, as seen worn by many teams. And that is group 49, Koala, Lockie, Europa, and Adidas. Interesting group of one way or another. Right, 49. 15 groups to go. Right, who have we got in here? Who can we find? Group 50, this is, and finally, there it is. There we go. There's your Nike logo. Heading group 50 at the moment. Also, we have Swift, who made kit for Walsall and Northampton in the 2000s. Oops. Also in group 50, we have got ASICS. That's an ASICS logo there. Japanese multi-sport brand, as we know. Currently doing kit for Vissel Kobe in Japan in the J League. And Garmin, who've done a couple of sort of African national team kits, Mansfield's kit as well, 2004 to 2006. And that completes group 50. That is Nike, Swift, ASICS, and Garmin. Fish around. Who we got for group 51 here? We've got TFG, who have made kit for Crystal Palace, Oxford, Plymouth, Scunthorpe, teams like that. We've got NS, familiar brand, I'm sure, to many of you, done kit for Stockport, Tranmere, Wrexham, Bury, and so on. Oops. There we go. Then we have Galex, who made Perugia's kit in Italy in 1998. And at last, we have an Umbro logo, one of 5. Umbro, of course, English brand that have made kits for all the home nations, Republic of Ireland, and so on and so forth. That is group 51. And we've got TFG, NS, Galex or Galex, and Umbro. Group 52 of 64. Won't be much longer now. You can all get on with the rest of your Sunday. We have an old Buckter logo there, worn by many teams, as we know, around the world. We have Kelme, we've already seen, done kit. They will be doing the kit for Watford, of course, from next season. And then we've got Romai, who are from the United Arab Emirates, but they've done the kit for Bahamas, Jamaica, I should say, and Senegal in recent seasons. It's just coming up to 10 p.m. here in New Zealand, just so you know. And also in Group 52, we have got Elgren, who have done kit for lots of well-known teams: Blackburn, Bournemouth, Burnley, Halifax, amongst others. And there we are. That is Group 52, Bukta, Kalmay, Romai and Elgren. Right, there we are. Group 53 of 64. We have got Blogs, who made kit for Preston and Huddersfield in the early 2000s. We've got Sky, who made kit for Walsall, mid to late 90s. Trying to separate these. If you think, wondering what I'm doing below the desk, I'm merely separating bits of paper with my fingers. That is another logo of Do You Football, who we saw earlier on, who make kit for St. Pauli. Funky kits for St. Pauli in Germany. Sort of angular heart-shaped logo there. And finally, for Group 53, we've got another Reebok logo. Founded in Bolton, of course, and lent their name to the Bolton Stadium. And that's Group 53, Blogs, Sky, Do You Football and Reebok. Quick slurp of tea, do excuse me. It's virtually cold now. I've been doing this for so long. Right, where are we on to? 54, I suppose. 54. And we have the third and I think final Topper logo, famously associated with the Brazil national team in '86, but not with that logo. We've got Atletica, a Mexican brand who have done kits for the Mexican national team, as well as Venezuela, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and other teams in that area. We've got Wallon, also from South America, Peru specifically. They've done kit for Bolivia and the Peru national side. And we've got, who should we have here? But the old Nike swoosh, which has obviously come back on certain kits this season, originally seen on the Sunderland kit back in the early 80s. Nike complete the group 54. So Topper, Atletica, Wallon, and Nike. There we are. Soon be time for bed. Not until I've finished this, though. You'll be pleased to know, unless I nod off, in which case the whole thing's finished. Right. That's 54. Okay, the last 10 groups, starting off with Group 55. And there's still lots of Adidas and Umbro logos to go. Group 55. That's a brand called Serena, who did Doncaster Rovers kits from 79 to 81. I think we all know who that is. That's Macron, current logo, Italian brand that have done kits for many teams, including my own West Ham, not that long back. We've got Causeway Sports, who did the kit for Cardiff City in 2014-15. Finally, in Group 55, let's see if we can find, we've got the old O'Neill's logo, Irish brand, as mentioned before. So that is Group 55, Serena, Macron, Cosway Sports, and O'Neill's. Right, 55, there we are. 56, Group 56. They're all still in there, look, they're all, see those, they're all in there. Right, who can we find? We've got ABM, who made kit for Fiorentina and Chievo in the early 90s. Kind of a cult classic brand in some ways, really. We've got Champion, who made kit for Brentford, 1990 to 1992. We've got Score, who made kit for the Bermuda and El Salvador national teams, but you knew that already, I'm sure. This is Group 56. And finally, look, it's a familiar brand of Kappa, Italian brand who've made kit for Tottenham and Wigan and Villa and many other teams. That's Group 56. ABM, Champion, Score, and Kappa. Group 57 of 64. And we have Lotto, Italian brand. Lots of British teams have done kits for QPR, Blackpool, Barnsley, and so on. Then we have, what's this, Group 57? I wonder how many people recognise that one. That was the logo that appeared on the Algeria kit in the '82 World Cup. And that's Sonitex, I think is the name of that company. I forgot to give you the name of the company. I think it's Sonitex. Oh, here we go. Here's another Adidas. They're finally coming out. There we are. Adidas, the sort of triangular logo without the equipment bit, which, you know, some people will be specifically rooting for without the equipment word. And then finally, we've got Mitre, a fairly recent version of the logo worn by teams like Huddersfield, Ipswich, Norwich, Notts County, and so on. So there we go, Group 57, and that's Lotto, Sonitex, Adidas, and Mitre. And we are on to 58 of 64. Of 64, beg your pardon. Yeah, it was not far off being a group of death, I would say. It was a strong group. 58 starts with Oscar, who did kit for lots of teams in the early 80s. Brentford, Charlton, Fulham, Millwall, Wimbledon, Derby. Yeah. And then we have I got two here? Hopefully I haven't. No, I haven't. Bukta, that's an old Bukta logo from the sort of 80s, I guess you could say. We've got JJB, who did kit for Wigan and Leicester between 2005 and 2007. And lastly, we have got another Dwarig logo. Dwarig, we mentioned earlier on, French brand. And that is Group 58. Oscar, Bukta, JJB, and Dwarig. think a lot of the bigger brands we've managed to keep apart, but it's not difficult when you've got 256 to start off with. So, but of course, there's still a good few Umbro logos left, and I think maybe a couple of Adidas logos as well. But we'll see. This is Group 59. Starting off with New Balance, USA brand, sort of associated with footwear to some extent, but also do the kit for the Irish national team, Costa Rica, Panama, and various British teams, Leyton Orient, and so on. Liverpool, you may have heard of. Who else in Group 59 we've got? Another O'Neill's logo. That's the one that appeared often on the Irish national team kits in the 80s. Circular brand, circular logo. And then we've got, there's a good one. I quite like this one. I don't know why. Samurai Sportswear. They were the kit suppliers for Accrington Stanley in the 2012-13 season. I just like it because it's brilliantly stereotypically Japanese. And I think they're a British company as well, which kind of only makes it more humorous. And lastly, we have Li Ning, who are a Chinese company. They do the kit for the Indonesian national team and also Puebla of Mexico. A couple of years ago, they did the kit for. So that's them. That is Group 59. New Balance, O'Neill's, Samurai Sportswear, and Li Ning. Right. 5 groups to go. Here we go. Here we go. Samurai. Are you saying Samurai? You've got Phil Arnold, who's talking on the window. You put Samurai and then TH. Does that mean TH as in Thai or Thailand? I'm not quite sure if that's just a truncated message or you were trying to tell me something there. Anyway, we go on Group 60, and we have got Under Armour, as worn by Southampton, Tottenham, Aston Villa. I'm sure you don't need to tell me more about them. World Cup with the best football shirts. Ooh, that would take quite a while, but might save that one for later. We'll end up doing that at some point in the future. Here's an obscure one. I don't know if you can just make that out. That's Molyneux, who made Wolves kit from 1992 to 94. Phil was just saying there, Samurai forever linked to Accrington. Always the first word that enters my head after Samurai from now on. Well, there you are. Sorry, TH was a typo. I thought it might be. Thank you, Phil, for clarifying that. We also have Ernest, French brand, who done the kits for the Mali national team and Auxerre, Nantes, Rennes, and various other teams. And finally, we've got Sparta, who did the kit for Oldham Athletic, 2000 to 2004. That is Group 60. Under Armour, Molyneux, Ernest, and Sparta. Ernest, I think the only English team Ernest did kit for was Fulham. I'm sure you knew that. And that goes on there somehow. Let me do that. There we go. Group 61 of 64. Can't be many left now, and most of them are going to be Umbro at this rate. It's going to be an Umbro group in this, I just know. Oh, Adidas Trefoil finally arrives almost at the very end there. Got to be one of the pre-tournament favourites, I'm sure. And we have Pompey Sport, not surprisingly, Portsmouth's kit manufacturer in 1999 to 2005. We've got another Van Danel, British brand, kits for teams like Colchester and Fulham, Gillingham, Crewe, and so on. And to complete Group 61, Jacko, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that, but I'm sure you know they've done kit for teams like Leicester and Portsmouth et al. So that's Group 61. I think we all know who's going to be the favourite in that group, but I'm not going to influence the voting, you understand? So we've got Adidas, Pompey Sport, Vandenel and Jacko. I'm going to say Jacko for that. Final 3 groups. 12 left. They're all in there. There we are. We start group 62 with Hummel. Forgotten all about Hummel. Oh my God, there's probably both Hummel kits, both Hummel logos still in there. Founded in Germany, but they're a Danish company, as you know. They've done kit for so many teams: Coventry, Tottenham, and so on and so on and so on. Great brand. We have Carbrini. I've already mentioned them. And we have Zara, who've done kits for teams like Norwich and Cardiff, Luton, Tranmere, and many more. And Carlotti, a bit like Carbrini, they've done kit for lots and lots of teams up and down the top 4 tiers of football. Phil Arnold says, my 4-year-old has his Hummel black and white check Coventry shirt on from this season on right now. Good man. That's what we like to hear. Good stuff. So we've got Hummel, we've got Carbrini, we've got Zara and Carlotti in group 62. 2 to go, and there's still loads of Umbro logos. There's going to be something decidedly fishy about this last couple of groups. I'm sorry, you've seen me shake these all up. I did the best I could. Final shape for the last 2 groups. The old 2-tone Hummel kit for Coventry. Brilliant. Excellent stuff. We've got Balliston, who came out very early on. They're a French brand, done kit for teams like Nancy, Ajaccio, Strasbourg. There we are. A bit of a Comic Sans thing going on there with them, I think. We've got Specs. They are an Asian brand, Indonesian, I think, who've done sort of kit for a few Asian clubs. An obscure one, I should say. Joma, that's the other version of their logo. Swansea, Exeter, Leicester, Cardiff, and so on. There is going to be more than one Umbro logo in this last group. Excuse me while I'm going to make sure they're all sort of spread apart here. I'll just show you I'm not fixing this. I'm just trying to make sure they're all separated because I've got a feeling they're all going to come out as Umbro. Yes, Spec referee kit. I was waiting for somebody to mention that. I thought I'd just leave that there for whoever wanted to pick it up. And finally, we've got Influence, associated with perhaps QPR most strongly, but also Portsmouth and Birmingham, Cardiff, and so on. So that is group 63. So it's Balliston, Specs, Joma, and Influence. If I've got this right, there should be 4 left. There's more than 4 left. How did we work that out? How can there be more than 4 left? Okay, I'm going to draw 4 out. Here we go. In fact, I'm going to do more than I'm just going to draw all these. I can't believe I've ended up with more than 256 in here. But anyway, here we go. So we've got Levi's, Mexico, of course. We've got ProStar, who've done kits for Northampton, Shrewsbury, Wickham. How can there be more than 4 left? I must have miscalculated. I'll find room for all of them one way or the other. We've got Saints. Oops, pardon that way around. Saints. They did the kit for Southampton, 99 to 2008. And we've got Nibor. You know Nibor. They've done the kit for Bristol City, 1992, 1996. So there we go. So that is, well, that's group 64. It looks like we're going to have extra groups, but I'll make sure that the relevant number go through and they all get whittled out. So we've got, knew this was going to happen. Something was going to happen. Whoops. So we've got Levi's from Mexico, 1978. World Cup, Pro Star, Saints, Nibor. So that's 63. That was 64. Now, how many have we got? I think there's 4 left in there. So this is group 65. And we start off with the humorously named ISIS, who did kit for Darlington and Barnet, sort of late 90s. There's the other Hummel logo, the Bumblebee. Hummel. I think I have missed a group number. Maybe I have missed a group number. Thank you, Phil, for reassuring me. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be at all surprised if I've just missed a number out. I'll go back and check it. It'll all appear on the KitList website in due course, so it'll all come out in the wash. There we go. Finally, we're getting these Umbro logos. There's the wide diamond, which I don't think is hugely popular among certain people, but there we are. And we have got Sika, who did the kit for Hartlepool and Bristol Rovers in the late 90s. I am just looking. I thought there were more Umbro logos left. Maybe there were more that came out early on. Yeah, maybe they did come out early on, actually. Now I'm thinking of it. So there's me saying, where are all the Umbro logos? I thought they were in there. It's gone. They're all, it's empty. I have nothing up my sleeve. So the last group, which we'll say is 64, even though I kind of think it's 65, is ISIS, Hummel, Umbro, and Sika. And that finally is the last group to be drawn for this preliminary round of the World Cup of Football shirt logos. As I mentioned before, the voting will start on Wednesday the 10th of June, because I've got to set up all the voting buttons and everything else in 2 different places. And I'll just move this out of the way now because I can. Yes, you'll have 3 days to vote on each of the groups, and we'll add up all the votes, and you'll be told soon enough on Twitter or via the KitList website or Facebook, wherever. All the details are in the description below this window, by the way. You'll be told in due course which are the group winners, and then we go through to the first round proper, and we do all of this all over again, except with 16 groups instead of 64. Can only be more concise and exciting, I hope. But anyway, I hope that was okay, Phil, in some way distracting and in some obscure way managed to brighten up your Sunday. Thank you very much to all of you who have been here for the last nearly 2.5 hours. I appreciate the fact that you've done that. I appreciate your company. Yes, just before we bring things to an end, I've just noticed Phil saying, are we voting on the logo itself and not the kits associated with it or anything like that? Yeah, just the logo. Just to take you right back to the very beginning of this video, the whole idea of this was dreamt up by somebody else on Twitter, a chap called Luis Adriano, and he suggested doing a logos World Cup. So you've got to be voting on which logo you like the best in each group, and the one that gets the most votes goes through to the first round, and then we do another draw. The group winners from that go through to the round of 16, and then it's knockout all the way through to the bitter end. Right, there we are. Hope that was okay. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for all your comments. It's been really nice knowing that there's somebody out there, because I wasn't getting any messages for about the first God knows how long. And I was wondering, maybe I haven't set up something right, or maybe no one's interested, which probably wasn't that far from the truth. But anyway, thank you all once again. Time I was off, but I'll be speaking to you again very soon. But for now, from me, it's goodbye.